Kicking off the list at number 10, Superwoman. For this week, we'll be taking a look at Kristen Wells' Superwoman. She first appeared in DC Comics Presents Annual number 2. Now, she's from the 29th century. Kristen was a history student who traveled back in time to discover the origins of Miracle Monday, a universal holiday. She was quite committed to the craft, and it didn't take long for her to become Professor Wells. Her next field trip was a little more intense. Now she traveled to the 20th century to discover the secret identity of Superwoman, only to find out it was her the whole time. See, this Superwoman version of her took future tech, traveled back in time, and then saved the day alongside Superman at some point. Then she helped him take down King Cosmos. It was a pretty big deal. And then Wells traveled back to the future to tell the people the secret identity. It's kind of confusing in the brain. And they're all pretty shocked, but they're thrilled nonetheless. They gather and they celebrate Kristen's accomplishments that technically haven't happened yet in their timeline. What an odd party. Hey Kristen, great job. She's like, thanks, it was hard. Number 9, Rip Hunter. Making his first appearance in Booster Gold issue 13, Hunter is a guardian of the time stream and leader of the Time Masters. Not bad on the resume. Rightfully so. I mean, right from the start, this guy was preparing for enemies a time traveler would face. He was worried somebody would go back in time and prevent him from being born, so he got ahead of the game, or behind it rather, and then he hid the details of his birth from the public. I have to include Rip Hunter because we mentioned Booster Gold in our last futuristic hero list. Rip Hunter is the son of Booster Gold, but not even Booster knows that, so no one tell him, no one text him. Hunter has seen many days being a time traveler, of course. He was one that witnessed the birth of the new multiverse, and he played a major role in the defeat of Mr. Mind. He of course is a genius when it comes to temporal machines, but when you have literally all that time on your hands, you have time to kill and therefore time to train. Rip Hunter killed time by studying martial arts from BC to the end of time. So you don't want to mess with him in any timeline or else you'll get choked out in some era's version of Taekwondo, you know? Guys, before we continue on with this list, you know the drills, nerds. If you want to go ahead and give that video a thumbs up, it really helps us out here a bit. You're the best, thank you so much. Let's get right back to this list. You know, quick little intermission. Number 8, Adam Strange. Adam Strange was once a normal dude. He was an archaeologist working in South America when all of a sudden he was transported to the planet of Ron. The Zeta Beam signed him out of work early that day. You always want it to happen. You're like, come on Zeta Beam, I'm tired. The leader of Ron, Sardath, teleported Adam there, and then Strange didn't waste any time. He got a flight pack, he got a ray gun, the whole Mandalorian package. He was on board. The Radians and him got along famously. It was pretty good so far. He even charmed Sardath's daughter over there, and they eventually fell in love. Now the beam effect wore off, so he did eventually return to Earth, but after predicting where the next Zeta Beam would hit, Adam scheduled those trips, those archaeological trips, around that location. He needed to marry Alana, so he has to check in with the fam. I get it. Now it turns out this beam wasn't too leisurely, it had purpose. Radians were becoming more and more sterile, so this beam was actually searching for a suitable mate on all these planets. So Adam met the Justice League after assisting in a battle with Kanjiro, but when he was offered membership, he declined it, because he was too committed with the Radians. The jetpack and the ray gun, I mean, he's obviously busy, he's shooting things, flying around, he's got his hands full, literally. Number 7, KALEB. KALEB of Hedros made his first appearance in Superman the Man of Steel Annual, issue 5. He's from the Legends of the Dead Earth crossover, when Lex Luthor XL activated Krypton Protocol. Now at this point, Lex was the leader of the Galactic Empire, some Star Wars level villain stuff here. His goal was to destroy every planet that met the specifications for a Superman to be born. So basically, if a planet showed potential, if it had a yellow star, his solution was just to Dr. Evil laser beam the planet into extinction, and then nothing will happen. Not a bad plan. I mean, it's kind of brutal, but I guess it would work. So his target was this planet, Hedros. Now thankfully brave rebels also exist in this universe, so they snuck onto the planet and saved the last remaining inhabitant, KALEB. So once he got off this doomed planet, as Lex predicted, he became the Man of Steel. Number 6, Wave Rider. Matthew Ryder made his first appearance in Armageddon 2001. He's a time traveler who comes from a dark future. I love old comics when they talk about the future because the year that Matthew came from is only 9 years away from today. Yeah, he's from the year 2030. Will there be flying cars, hoverboards, Avatar 2? Nope, it's actually going to be ruled by Monarch. Spoiler alert, it's pretty bad. At this point in time, he's wiped out most of Earth's heroes. It's not looking too helpful, so Matthew was rescued during this madness by a hero named Bennett Dilly. Matthew volunteered himself to travel back in time and hopes to figure out what turned Monarch evil. Now the past year's subjects never made it, but Matt Rayner did. Thank God. Now, not only that, when he entered the time stream, he was transformed into Wave Rider. So now he's able to surf through time whenever he feels like it. The classic go back in time but get powers during the commute. Awesome, we love it. He's also the king of spoilers, because his new powers allow him now to see into somebody's probable future by merging with them. Imagine bumping into this guy and you're like, oh, sorry. He's like, hey, no worries, good luck on your pilot test. They're like, what? He eventually joined the Linear Men and helped Superman quite a bit when Doomsday returned the first time. He offered details on Doomsday's origin, and he took Doomsday to the end of time, which sounds permanent, but Brainiac was still able to revive Doomsday. But we love the effort. Wave Rider is great, ladies and gentlemen, just don't binge watch any shows with him. He'll spoil the last season before it's even filmed. Number 5, Bart Allen. Making his first full appearance in The Flash Volume 2, Issue 92, Bart Allen was the grandson of Barry Allen, and his father was Don Allen, and his mother was Melanie Thawne, descendant of Flash villains Cobalt Blue and Professor Zoom. Now Bart was of course born with his grandfather's gift of, traveling at light speed, but he also aged at hyperspeed too, which is concerning. When he was only 2 years old, his body was already at age 12. President Thawne had the Dominators abduct Bart so they could do experiments and all that evil stuff, but they ended up creating a clone of Bart called Inertia. Now Bart was of course going to die earlier than most people because of his aging problem, so Iris West took him to the 20th century to the third Flash, Wally West, so he could teach Bart how to control his speed and, not perish and still stay alive. Bart came back later as Impulse and was one of the founding members of Young Justice. Number 4, Calcula. Also known as the Ancient One, Calcula was originally around in comics for a year, starting with Warlord issue 5. Calcula was the Atlantean god of light and was considered one of the most powerful mages in ancient Atlantis history. Being a follower of the Lords of Order and being born before creation itself, Calcula and Dark Magistra had some powerful offspring, Orion and Garn Danuth. Now Orion was a demigod and Garn Danuth grew up to become an agent of Order. All this power running through the family tree, but where did it come from? Calcula came from Darkworld. He was a protector of the creator of said realm. Kind of a big deal. Now it didn't take long for him to become a sorcerer king, and then he liberated Atlantis, and before you know it, him and his wife Magistra and 10 other mages created the Zodiac Crystals, which are basically these statues that were patterned after all the Zodiac signs. So if you're into crystals, there you go. This cult couple didn't last too long because Magistra unfortunately joined the dark side. Calcula stayed pure. He declared himself to pure white magic. Perhaps the best part of this guy is his ability to see the past, present, and future. DC Comics Presents issue 75 is a trip. A lot of time travel goodness in those old pages. You gotta go check it out. Number 3, John Fox. Making his first appearance in Flash Special Issue 1, John Fox resided comfortably in the year 2645. He was a historian for the National Academy of Science in Central City, and his life changed when the radioactive villain Manfred Moda showed up. He was causing destruction, the world was in chaos because of this guy, so the Academy decided, you know what, let's just send John back in time because we're in the future and we can do that. Hey, what's up? And then John can grab a Flash or two, come back, and then all of them can help us take down Moda. Now the plan of course didn't work because it's easier said than done. He couldn't get any Flashes to come back to the future with him, but during this cosmic commute, John himself got super speed, which is almost a better alternative if you ask me. He quickly suited up and took down Moda himself, quite impressive. This sounds like a dream scenario, but John lost his job when speed robots came into the picture. Damn robots taking our jobs, even in 2645. This is relentless. Number 2, Batman. On our last list of futuristic heroes, we mentioned Thomas Wayne, the Batman of the Flashpoint universe, who is a little dark to say the least. So for this list, we had to mention the time that Batman was sent back in time through Darkseid's Omega Beams. It's super fun and also really stressful. This happens during the 6-parter written by Grant Morrison, Final Crisis. Now it appears Bruce is dead during the story, but later on it's revealed in Return of Bruce Wayne that he just took a trip through time. He was sent back to multiple eras. I'm talking the dawn of history. Caveman Bruce Wayne, and then he jumps further in time and there's witches running around. It's really fun to see Bruce use his intellect to get out of these specific eras. That's the whole fun of it. Also, if you've ever wanted to see Batman as the historical pirate Blackbeard, well, now's your chance. Go check it out. And finally, number 1, Green Lantern. Green Lantern power rings are quite impressive. It can be used as a universal translator, it allows its user to communicate telepathically, and in Superman Man of Tomorrow issue 13, Superman goes nuts, so Kyle Rayner created kryptonite with the ring. It's pretty impressive, but you also may forget that the ring allows for one to time travel. Hal Jordan traveled to the 70th century once. He was brought into the far future to take down an evil government, but in doing so, the ring required enormous amounts of will and energy. So in turn, he ended up losing his memories and started going by the alias Paul Manning. So there was a point where Green Lantern was a superhero in 2 timelines, and that's why he's number 1.
Number 10, Powerhouse. It feels weird to have Franklin Richards at the bottom of a too powerful or most powerful style list. However, while Powerhouse was once one of the most powerful heroes in all of the Marvel Universe, even becoming so when he was just a little baby, so much so that his dad, Reed, actually had to shut off his son's powers, he has been having a rough go in the comics over the last little while. Franklin was believed to be a mutant with the power to warp reality, giving him access to a ton of extra power. But unfortunately, his powers have been on the fritz recently, and now he seems to have completely lost them. It's even believed that he was never truly a mutant, but instead subconsciously used his powers to alter his DNA, meaning that he can't even go to Krakoa currently anymore. I wouldn't expect us to see any kind of reality warping version of Franklin in the Fantastic Four film, if we get a version of him there at all. Although honestly, depowering him in the comics may be part of a plot to have him come into the film, more comic book accurate to who he is currently in the comics, meaning production and writers wouldn't actually have to worry about his crazy powers and writing those in, which would likely get in the way of any massive threat, as while powered, he could normally stop, well, just about any of them, like that. No Infinity Gauntlet snaps, but just normal power reality warping snaps. Number 9. Rachel Summers. Rachel is 1, really powerful, and 2, just pretty unusual, which makes her a hard sell for the Marvel Cinematic Universe on both those fronts. Although the mutants will be coming soon, so there is a small chance, I suppose, that Rachel could show up at some point. Rachel isn't from the main continuity of Earth 616, but is the daughter of Jean Grey and Scott Summers, aka Cyclops, of her own reality, Earth 811. Rachel is considered to be Omega level, so in theory, the highest level there is of mutant, although there are a few who threaten to surpass that level in the comics. She is an insanely powerful telepath, telekinetic, and can also manipulate time, even being capable of traveling through it. Rachel can also shield herself against time manipulation from outside forces, protecting her against alterations to the timeline. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more lists about all the cool things happening in the MCU, or not happening in this case, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 8. Squirrel Girl. It feels weird putting Squirrel Girl on this list, but she is weirdly one of the most OP heroes we have in the comics. Squirrel Girl is a hero who can pretty much defeat any threat she goes up against without usually even needing to fight. She handily defeated Dr. Doom using her influence over squirrels, and defeated Galactus just by having a conversation with him and being overall fearless. Squirrel Girl usually befriends many other heroes and villains alike whom she meets, which tends to be her secret weapon when it comes to winning any fight. Doreen Green is also a kind of odd hero, so we likely won't be seeing her in the MCU anytime soon for that reason as well. But honestly, I kind of wish that we would. She might be odd and weirdly OP, but she's also had a lot of great moments in the comics, and it would be really cool to see her cheerful, awkward, and infectiously fun nature come to life on the big screen. Number 7. Vulcan. Vulcan is another mutant who is likely considered too powerful and possibly too complicated to show up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I know we are getting mutants, so likely a lot of these folks could be showing up at some point, but I don't know if Vulcan's gonna be one of them. Vulcan is not only Omega level, but is actually implied to be one of the few that I mentioned earlier who could potentially be past, or at least at times surpass, Omega levels. He is one of the coolest power sets in comics, which is also shared by other super awesome but perhaps less mainstream mutants such as Bishop. I love Bishop. He's another mutant that I would love to see show up in the MCU with the X-Men crew at some point. I mean, we did get Cable and Deadpool, so I feel like that could be possible. Vulcan has no limit to the type of energy he can absorb and utilize, even being able to harness magical or cosmic energy from the likes of Adam Warlock, although I do believe he does have limits when it comes to how much energy he can harness or utilize. Vulcan also can use his powers to reduce or even turn off the powers of those that he faces. Vulcan is Gabriel Summers, the mysterious younger brother of both Scott and Alex Summers. The one that for years we were like, does he exist? Why did Mr. Sinister randomly mention him and then we just never saw him? And then he finally showed up. In the 2000s, he was like, hey, just been here all along, doing other stuff in space, being real messed up. Number 6. Sentry. The Sentry would be an interesting character to have in the MCU because he is actually a hero who was retconned into existence. The Sentry is Robert Reynolds, who is revealed to be a drug addict that was looking for a fix when he stumbled upon the Golden Sentry serum, and accidentally basically became a hero. Unfortunately, due to the fact that Bob was mentally unstable, he ended up not just becoming the world's greatest hero, but also having another persona who was considered the world's world's greatest villain, known as the Void. When it was revealed that the Sentry and the Void were both Bob Reynolds, the heroes banded together to help Sentry make the world forget that he ever existed, which basically allowed the Void to also not exist. In so doing, Bob went back to living a relatively normal life, but when his memories began to resurface years later, he would return. Doing so would also awaken the Void within him, and it would once again be revealed, this time more to all of the heroes, that the two, hero and arch nemesis, were actually connected and the same person. Number 5. Silver Surfer. The Silver Surfer is one of the strongest beings in the Marvel Universe. He is considered to be the most powerful of all Galactus' heralds, and despite usually being associated with that Marvel antagonist, typically acts as a hero, even choosing to stay on Earth for a time after coming to warn them of the arrival of Galactus. Silver Surfer is Norrin Radd, a hero who possesses the power Cosmic, which grants him tons of astonishing abilities. The power Cosmic is OP. He's also virtually indestructible, being immortal, invulnerable, and having a healing factor, even if you could hurt him. He also now is basically untouchable, being intangible as well. And that might sound like a setback, but he can still merge with other living beings, in essence bonding with them and using them as a host. So even though he can't physically touch stuff, he kinda still can. The Silver Surfer isn't just powerful alone either, he also possesses the power to bestow portions of his powers on others, which would have been really handy when everyone was dealing with Thanos, his army, and the Black Order in Avengers Infinity War. Number 4. Hope Summers. Hope Summers is the adopted daughter of both Cable and later Cable's wife in the future, who is actually also named Hope, but not the same Hope. Hope was the mutant Messiah baby, the first new mutant born after the events of M-Day, and actually originally she didn't have a name at all. The baby would be raised by both Cable and Hope, only being given the name Hope Summers after her adoptive mother died, so she was basically named after her. Hope's mutant powers allow her to mimic the powers of others, managing to use those powers at their peak potential, even if she's completely inexperienced with them or unaware even of what they are or how they work at all. Hope's use of any powers she adopts is intuitive. She doesn't need to make physical contact to mimic them, she just needs to be in the area of the mutant who possesses them as well. Her own powers cannot be absorbed, and she has a calming effect on others' mutant abilities, basically helping to perfect and stabilize them. So Hope's also just a powerful character to have around if you're a mutant who's like, I don't really know what I'm doing. This makes her an integral part of the Five, a group of mutants responsible for resurrecting fallen or lost mutants of Krakoa. Despite the fact that Hope's powers are believed to be restricted to the adoption of other mutant abilities, she and Scarlet Witch together rid the world of the Phoenix Force during Avengers vs. X-Men. Now, this is kinda weird because Scarlet Witch no longer is a mutant in the current comic book continuity, which could imply that Hope's powers mimicry is actually not therefore mutant exclusive. Unless something else was going on there and it was more like Scarlet Witch influencing Hope, I don't know, but I'm just saying if Hope was influencing any of that, that doesn't make sense if Scarlet Witch is no longer a mutant. Unless that's all a lie, and that's gonna be re-retconned away. Please do that. Please do that. Number 3. Phoenix. One hero that it seems is really hard to get right when it comes to the films is Jean Grey. Jean by herself is already likely too powerful to show up, although I will say I think you can make that work if you just, I don't know, put more of a lockdown on her power set. However, if we are talking Jean unleashed, Jean at her full potential, that's just not going to work. And if we're talking about bringing Phoenix into the mix and bonding Phoenix with Jean, that's also going to be a huge problem. Anytime you have a character like that who has the power to warp or manipulate reality, you're going to have a challenging time writing any kind of threat for them to face. As with what usually happens with Jean Grey, you can have the Dark Phoenix come in and play villain, you can have Jean struggle to control her own powers and even struggle to maybe hold on to her sanity in the face of her powers, but a hero who happens to have control and be able to basically fix the world as she sees fit, that's a problem. It's like any villain you face, you're just gonna be like, well, you're gone. You never existed. Done. Easy. What's next? Number 2. Living Tribunal. The Living Tribunal isn't entirely a hero, or not a hero in the traditional sense, but is usually considered to be a force of good because of what they represent. The Living Tribunal brings a force of balance and justice to the cosmos and across the multiverse. While there are many different alternate versions of characters from each universe, there's actually only one Living Tribunal, which watches over all of the realities, getting involved when they believe an injustice has been committed and the scales need to be balanced. Of course, only if the injustice is super great. They're not just like, hey, I saw you littered, that's not cool, let's go to court. So not every injustice. The the Living Tribunal was the one to call to trial a case of 1610, or the Ultimate Reality, versus the current main continuity reality of Earth 616. This case was about determining which reality should ultimately be considered the true main reality, as the Living Tribunal considered that the Earth of 1610 could actually be a good replacement for Earth 616. Fortunately, She-Hulk was able to convince them otherwise, because She-Hulk is an amazing lawyer. Number 1. The Brothers. The Brothers are a duo of cosmic entities who exist even outside of their respective multiverses, as each one represents either the DC or the Marvel multiverse. These two characters initially showed up in a crossover comic called DC vs. Marvel, which already made it unlikely that we'll see them anytime soon in the MCU, because we would then need a crossover movie, which I don't think is going to happen yet. Maybe at some point. For a time, the brothers considered fighting one another in an attempt to acquire complete uniqueness, but instead decided, as they were pretty evenly matched, that they should appoint representatives from their universes to act as their champions. It's believed that the brothers are actually more powerful than the sum of their parts, meaning that even the Living Tribunal could be considered below them in terms of power levels and importance. While the brothers also have a male-centric name, the Brothers, it should be noted that they're actually genderless, so they're also kind of the sisters. They're just whatever. They're just called the Brothers. They look like giant mechs, so you know. No bits. I don't think. Number 10. Quasar. Quasar is Wendell Vaughn, a being of pure quantum energy. When armed with his quantum bands, he is even more powerful. The quantum bands allow Quasar to create constructs and shields. They also give him the power to absorb energy and complete quantum jumps, effectively teleporting. Quasar managed to survive in a fight against Annihilus, attempting to teleport away before he was destroyed, but only managing to do so at the last minute with his mind. For a time, he'd become trapped in the negative zone mentally, ceasing to have a physical form, passing on the mantle of Quasar for a time to Phyla Vell and Nova's Richard Rider after. However, Quasar's defeat during Annihilation would seemingly only make him stronger, as after a time he managed to somehow regain his physical form, returning only to go on a journey to the Cancerverse, acting as a scout for his own universe. Existing as a being of pure quantum energy means that Quasar is a powerful hero to go up against, and might make him too powerful for the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the end. Good old Wendell. Number 9. Gladiator. Gladiator is one of those heroes whose powers are only limited by his own state of mind. Literally. Gladiator's confidence is directly tied to his power levels, and the more confident that he feels, the more unstoppable he becomes. For a time, Gladiator actually ruled his people as the Magister of the Shi'ar Empire, out in space. But more recently, he decided to step down, believing that a Naramani was needed on the throne, and relinquishing his place to Xandra. Gladiator himself is Kalark, a Strontian, who went through an enhancement process to make him worthy of the rank of Gladiator. He is immensely powerful, being super strong, fast, agile, invulnerable, and possessing a healing factor. He is capable of interstellar flight and is an incredibly gifted and experienced fighter. And friends, if you are liking this list and you want more lists like it, if you want that part 3, I don't know if we can do one, but I mean there's a lot of characters in the Marvel Universe, so I'm sure we can. Be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 8. Black Bolt. Black Bolt is the king of the Inhumans. We probably won't see him anytime soon in the MCU, not just because you'd then have to explain all about the Inhumans and what they're up to, and because he's super OP and can wipe out most opponents with just a whisper, but because we already tried to introduce the world to the Inhumans via their own television series, and it did not go well. Black Bolt, however, still has some pretty cool powers, and the Inhumans are a pretty cool bunch, if we did feel that they might be a good fit. We just might have to tone down Black Bolt's powers somewhat, or maybe also find like another way to have them? I don't know. He was considered powerful enough to take on Thanos, and he even survived a one-on-one battle against him in the comics. He was able to shatter Thanos' armor during their fight, though his powerful voice did not harm the Mad Titan directly. Rats. He also seemingly killed one of the most powerful Omega-level mutants around, Vulcan, who was on part 1 of our list. However, this was later retconned to not have actually happened, as we later learned during Hickman's reign over the X-Books that Vulcan actually survived the fight. Apparently. He looked pretty dead. It looked like he was pretty dead, but he survived. How? We don't know. Number 7. Starbrand. Another cosmic hero who right now is in the care, I suppose, of the Avengers is Starbrand. Well, one of the Starbrands. There have been other Starbrands before in Marvel Comics, but this one is unique in the sense that she is just a little baby, or maybe more of a toddler now, actually. Either way, it would be pretty weird to see such a powerful young one fighting as a member of the Avengers, unless we're thinking of going the route of Baby Yoda, I guess, aka Grogu in Star Wars. Still, it seems unlikely. Whether it's little baby Selby or Kevin Connor, it's very unlikely that we're going to get either of the Starbrands out in the MCU. Their invulnerability, super strength, matter manipulation, energy manipulation, cosmic awareness, and healing powers may simply just be too much for the MCU to handle. Sorry, Starbrands. Number 6. Hyperion. Hyperion is known for being Marvel's version of a literal Superman. Sure, we have Sentry and Captain America, who are comparable in terms of their powers and their role, but Hyperion in the newest Heroes Reborn series seemed to be really exuding those Superman vibes. Here, Hyperion was the leader of the Squadron Supreme of America, an elite team of heroes who were also all kinda messed up. Hyperion himself seemingly had a god complex that perhaps was well earned considering what he was capable of. When all their enemies escaped their negative zone prison, Mark Milton as Hyperion was the first to respond, and he handedly took down pretty much everyone who got out, including Galactus, a version of Gladiator, a version of the Beyonder, a Giant Man version of Ultron / Evil Hank Pym, and a version of the Annihilation Wave. Granted, this Hyperion technically is an alt version, but either way you slice it, either way you dice it, any version of the hero is really too powerful and likely too similar to DC's Supes to make an appearance in the MCU. Number 5. MAGIK. Teleporters always rank high on my list of powerful heroes because I think teleportation is super OP, and MAGIK is definitely no exception there, although she is exceptional. So exceptional in fact, if we didn't get to see her in the MCU, I personally would not be surprised. True, we did get to see MAGIK appear in the New Mutants film, but that itself was outside of MCU continuity and canon, so doesn't count. Which is really unfortunate, as Anya Taylor-Joy was perfect in that role, and we likely won't get to see her take up the mantle again, which kinda bums me out. MAGIK is a member of the New Mutants who is also known for being not just a powerful teleporter, but magic wielder as the ruler of Limbo. This is where MAGIK teleports through to get where she is going. While in Limbo, she also becomes god level due to her attachment and relationship with the dimension. MAGIK also has a dark side known as Dark Child. While in her Dark Child persona, she becomes virtually unstoppable and generally a lot more evil. Number 4. Nova. It feels pretty unlikely that we'll ever get to see any version of Nova show up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe at this point. Why? Well, because the Nova Corps were seemingly wiped out by Thanos when he went after them for the Power Stone. It's believed that all of Xandar was decimated in his attack, which likely means that the Nova Corps who were there were some of the first people to go. Unless there was somehow, I guess, a lone survivor who could become Nova in the future, it seems very unlikely we'll see any kind of character attached to Xandar or the Corps. This could be just what Marvel Studios was hoping to eliminate the chances of, though, with this plot point, as all versions of Nova are considered to be pretty epically powerful, whether we're talking about Sam Alexander, Rich Rider, or Eve Bakian. Just all the Novas. They're just all pretty crazy. Number 3. Blue Marvel. So as much as I really want Adam Brashear to come to the MCU, there is also a concern many have around the fact that this hero might just be too powerful to appear in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, at least as he is in the comics. Maybe if we toned him down? Granted, we have Captain Marvel, and now we have Monica Rambeau, who's pretty crazy powerful. So I'm really hoping I'm wrong about this one. But still, there is Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau, and then there is Blue Marvel, who's kind of operating on a whole other level, due to the fact that his powers are derived from antimatter, and the fact that he is basically an antimatter generator / reactor. And if you don't know, antimatter is like crazy powerful and crazy efficient in the Marvel universe. I don't know about antimatter in real life. I don't even know if there is antimatter in real life. I don't know about that science. Number 2. Eternity. Eternity is not a conventional hero and more a cosmic entity, but like the Living Tribunal, they are also generally seen as a force of good, so hence why I'm counting them on the list. Eternity is actually just below the Living Tribunal in terms of rank in the universe and is the personification of time. They exist alongside their sister, Infinity. Eternity is capable of manipulating time and space on a lucrative scale. They are immortal and are considered an integral part of the universe, existing alongside other major concepts, which are also represented by powerful entities. Number 1. One Above All. The One Above All isn't your typical hero, but they are a very powerful force of good in the MCU, like Eternity. One Above All is seen as the creator of the multiverse and all beings within it. They are basically the god of the multiverse, the ultimate creator. We talked about the Living Tribunal on part 1 of this list, who is seen as the ultimate bringer of justice, the ultimate judge throughout the Marvel multiverse, and the One Above All is actually believed to be the entity that the Living Tribunal works for. One Above All is believed to be all-powerful and omnipotent, getting involved in the matters of its creations only when its interference is truly needed. They were the one who made Adam Warlock take up the mantle as their new Living Tribunal as payment for restoring all of reality after it was destroyed, which seems like a fair trade. They're like, hey, Adam Warlock, do this job and have lots of power, and I will return reality. Just come work for me, you know? I need a new Living Tribunal. You know how it is when the Living Tribunal dies. Actually, I don't know how that is. Sounds like a very rare problem.
Starting us off in at number 10, Lobo the Duck. Lobo the Duck is strangely enough the combination of Lobo and Donald Duck. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, it's Howard the Duck, and was introduced in Lobo the Duck number 1 from 1997 and is present on Earth 9602, but in a timeline where the amalgam heroes have died. Lobo the Duck is a fearless and strangely muscular, especially for a duck, anti-hero bounty hunter who, along with his shape-shifting canine sidekick Impossible Dog, is investigating the murders of several amalgam comics heroes. Lobo only agrees to find the murderers of these heroes if he gets paid up front though, but soon begins the investigation. Lobo fights his way through Gold Kidney Lady, Dr. Bongface, and various other supervillains before he realizes that the end of the world is about to begin and only he can stop it. He has all of Lobo's powers and abilities, including immortality, super strength, and a mastery of basically every weapon. He also has a genius level intellect, a superhuman sense of smell, can track anyone or anything across galaxies, oh, and is a master of quack fu. Yeah, I just wanted an excuse to mention this guy, but honestly immortality makes him pretty damn powerful. And at 9, Pharaoh-Man. Pharaoh-Man is a combination of Colossus and Pharaoh-Lad, and was introduced in X-Patrol number 1, which is clearly a combination of X-Men and Doom Patrol. Peter and his twin Alexei were all each other had, since even their mother couldn't bear to look at their faces. That's not even a face a mother could love. The twins shared everything from the moment they were born, but one day while saving Alexei's life from an oncoming truck, Peter changed into living metal, stopping it, revealing to himself that he was actually a metamutant, but Alexei was unfortunately not. Alexei's growing resentment drove him away from his brother until eventually he left Peter alone. After this, Peter was recruited by Niles Cable, a mysterious traveler from the future, to join the X-Patrol. In their first appearance in X-Patrol number 1, Pharaoh-Man and his metamutant teammates became involved in the siege of Latkovia against Dr. Doomsday, a combination of Dr. Doom and Doomsday, which already sounds like Bad News Bears. He has all the powers of Colossus but can change into this form at will like Pharaoh-Lad. And at 8, Harold Stark. Harold Stark is a combination of Iron Man and Green Lantern and was introduced in Iron Lantern number 1 in 1997. While making modifications to a stationary flight simulator, suddenly the simulator took off with Hal still inside. It seemed to be drawn to a crashed alien spaceship, but the simulator quickly lost power and crashed as well, but only yards from that spaceship. The crash left Hal in bad shape, with jagged metal piercing his chest, but nevertheless he made his way to that spaceship. That's resilience, where he found the corpse of an alien. In an effort to keep himself alive though, Hal used the alien technology in the ship to make a suit powered by the alien battery inside, which Hal noted looked remarkably like a lantern. Wearing this armor, Hal fought off the aliens who had shot down Romancer's ship, but was also seen by others, being called the Iron Lantern by the media. The suit of armor not only allowed him to survive, but gave him incredible powers, allowing him to create any object he pleased out of green energy, due to the battery he used being powered by the living planet. Iron Lantern has the technical and genius level intellect of Tony Stark, but has all the powers of Green Lantern, which is pretty damn cool. And at 7, Dinah Prince. Dinah Prince, also known as Dinah of Themyscira, was first introduced in Bullets and Bracelets number 1 and is a combination of Wonder Woman and Elektra. While still young, Dinah left Themyscira to explore man's world, leaving behind her family and her adopted sister Ororo. On her travels, she worked for the King of Wakanda, who gifted her adamantium bracelets. However, she later left to set up her own freelancing business in the US. There she met Trevor Castle and the two got married. At least, they were married until their infant son Ryan was mysteriously killed and the emotional toll was too much. Both of them them blame themselves for not being able to save their son. They seem to never plan on meeting again. However, Monarch brought the two together again and pitted them against Thanos, a combination of Thanos and Darkseid. Yeah, he had perceived the Lord of Apocalypse was responsible for the fate of their son, but she discovered that Ryan was not dead, merely displaced in time, and had grown up to become Kanto. Knowing that their son was still alive, Dinah and Trevor seemed to restart their relationship. Dinah has the divine empowerment from Wonder Woman, giving her superhuman strength and durability, as well as a mastery over archery and hand-to-hand combat. And at 6, Logan Wayne. Logan Wayne is a combination of, obviously, Bruce Wayne and Logan, being first introduced in Marvel vs. DC number 3, the same issue where this universe was created. At 5 years old, after witnessing his parents' murder at the hands of an armed robber, Logan Wayne was sent to live with his uncle in Alberta, Canada. His uncle was a member of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and was ambushed and murdered by poachers a short time after his arrival in Canada. After the death of his uncle, Logan was sent to live in a home run by nuns, and as soon as he was old enough, he enlisted in the Royal Canadian Air Forces. Logan was submitted to the Weapon X project, the Canadian Super Soldier program. It was here that Logan had adamantium bonded to his bones and learned of his metamutant nature. The Weapon X project was terminated due to his failure, because Logan was ineffective as a weapon because he had a conscience. But this didn't stop him from being pretty damn badass. Having all the powers of Logan, as well as things like the Clawcopter and Clawmobile, this is in essence a superpowered Batman, which I think we all know is something to fear. Halfway through and at number 5, Robert Bruce Banner. Robert Bruce Banner is the combination of Bruce Banner and understandably Solomon Grundy, and was first introduced in Doctor Strange Fate number 1 as one of his aides. Bruce Banner was a scientist experimenting with radiation, when an experiment he was working on went horribly wrong. However, it fused him with the elemental entity known as Solomon Grundy. The fusion between Banner and Grundy became only known as the Skulk, and after a confrontation with Doctor Strange Fate, the Doc showed Skulk that he could keep him in his human form with use of magic. So in an effort to stay human, or at least be able to become human again, Skulk agreed to work as an agent for Doctor Strange Fate in return for the Doc keeping him in his human form, for most of the time. Skulk possesses all the powers and abilities of both Solomon Grundy and Hulk, and thanks to Doctor Strange Fate, Banner can shapeshift between his human form and his Skulk form at will, and since he possessed the same powers as Grundy, when he dies, he's reborn. But that's not even the craziest thing in this universe. And at 4, Blaze Allen. Speed Demon, first introduced in Speed Demon number 1, is, aside from what you might have called your ex to your girlfriends, a combination of Barry Allen and Johnny Blaze. Blaze Allen was a circus daredevil who sold his soul to become the first Speed Demon. Yes, there are actually multiple Speed Demons. The demon component, Etrigan, was also formerly Jay Garrick, before the Night Spectre stole Jay's soul. You know, Jay Garrick. Earth 2 Flash. The Night Spectre approached Blaze and asked him to serve in his mission to collect souls from the most pure and most corrupt, which just seems weird to me, but okay, you do you. But Blaze Allen refused, so in an attempt to persuade him, at his wedding Night Spectre stole Iris's soul. Blaze then accepted the bond, hoping to get Iris back, or at least ensure her safety. It didn't work. Speed Demon speaks only in rhymes, but is a speedster with a flaming skull head that can also breathe fire. Wally West, an amalgamation of Danny Ketch and obviously Wally West, was the next Speed Demon, who accepted the power in order to help his uncle Blaze get Iris back. It's funny, because in a couple of days I'm going on vacation and I'm making it my mission to try to convince at least one person to sell me their soul. Like, it's not actually gonna work, but I think it's gonna be funny if I can do it. Getting close to the end, in at number 3, White Witch. First appearing in Doctor Strange Fate number 1 from 1996, White Witch is a combination of Scarlet Witch and Zatanna. White Witch's origin is not completely known, but when she was introduced, she was acting as one of Doctor Strange Fate's aides. Fearing that access would divide the Amalgam universe back into its original 2 universes, Doctor Strange Fate decides to capture and exterminate him, so he has Mix mystically teleport his 3 agents into his sanctum, known as Arkham Tower. Strange Fate proceeded to explain to the 3 that Access was a greater threat than any of their previous foes, including Mephisatanus or Baron Wotan. Access managed to escape Skulk and Jade Nova by teleporting, but White Witch approached him from behind, pushed him to the ground, climbed on top of him, and with a kiss, he was knocked out. Then White Witch said that you shouldn't send a girl or a monster to do a woman's job. White Witch has all the powers of both Scarlet Witch and Zatanna, making it obvious why Doctor Strange Fate would want her as his aide. That's insane. And it can only be topped by two people. Penultimately in at number 2, Clark Kent. Super Soldier is fairly evidently the combination of Clark Kent and Steve Rogers, first being introduced in Marvel vs. DC number 3 from 1996. During World War II, government scientists were working on a super soldier formula that would transform a man into much more, into some sort of human weapon using cellular samples from an alien corpse. Clark Kent volunteers for the Super Soldier program and they administer the formula, as well as a good chunk of solar radiation. This mixture gave Kent incredible abilities, including all those of Captain America and Superman. Super strength, heat vision, flight, you name it. Now known as Super Soldier, Kent wields the Superman logo as his shield. In March of 1942, Super Soldier fought Ultra Metallo, a robot sent by Lex Luthor to aid Germany in winning the war by killing Clark. But the fight started in Washington, DC and ended above the northern Atlantic Ocean, when Clark sacrificed himself to take down the robot, sinking them both into the icy depths. Jimmy Olsen was one of the few witnesses and instead reported that Super Soldier had retired after America had declared that they won the war. 50 years later, the body was thawed out in JLA number 4 and Clark joined the Judgment League Avengers as its leader. Finally, in at number 1, Dr. Strangefate. Dr. Strangefate is one of the most powerful beings on Earth 9602, being a combination of not only Dr. Strange and Dr. Fate, but Charles Xavier as well. While traveling through the Himalayas, Metamutant Charles Xavier was rescued by Nabu the Ancient One, who at the time was Lord Supreme of Order, which is a pretty damn impressive sounding title to say the least. Taught the mysteries of the supernatural world by Nabu, Charles taps into the energies and forces of both telepathic and mystical, making the Metamutant Sorcerer one of the most powerful beings in the Amalgam universe. Since he was already a powerful telepath, Charles quickly surpasses his teacher and was promoted to the new Lord Supreme of Order. Dr. Strangefate was also one of the founding members of the Judgment League Avengers, and began pursuing threats in shadowy realms, leaving the protection of Earth to, you know, lesser beings.
Number 10, RODGERS. This alternate version of Captain America resided in Earth 311, the 1602 reality, but initially came from the dystopian future reality of Earth 460, where Purple Man, aka Kilgrave, had become president for life. As such, Purple Man had seen Captain America as one of the last remaining threats to his dictatorship, and rather than make a martyr out of him through execution, he sent him back into the past, displacing the hero. Captain America took a new identity in the reality of Earth 311, adopting the name RODGERS, and used his opportunity to warn the First Nations peoples of the Americas of the risk posed to their existence by the settlers who would come. As RODGERS, during his time on Earth 311, Captain America helped maintain peace between the indigenous peoples of the land and the Roanoke colony settlers. In this reality, Roanoke also never disappeared due to the fact that they had RODGERS there to help them survive the harsh environment of their new home. Number 9, Iron Man. The bullet points version of Steve Rogers never became a super soldier. Instead, he joins Project Iron Man during World War II, becoming the first Iron Man in history. In order to become this new mechanical hero, he has to become surgically grafted to the suit. He would then fight during World War II and later retire but be called back into action to take on the Hulk, who in this reality was Peter Parker. As in most realities, Steve, even as Iron Man, is really no match for that hulking behemoth and ends up dying in battle against him. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list, if you want more lists like it, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 8, Age of X. This version of Captain America was kind of a villain, although it wasn't entirely his fault. He was led to believe that in order to protect the world, he and his team of Avengers would have to take out and defeat all of the mutants, which included Cap hunting down not just all kinds of mutants, but all ages of mutants as well, if you pick up what I'm putting down. This Captain America mowed down tons of mutant kind with a gun, including Mystique, who was guarding mutant children. Fortunately, Mystique with her dying breath causes Captain America to question his mission and doubt that his objective is truly noble. He decides to go against orders and instead fight alongside the mutants working to protect them. Cap dies a hero, taking on the Hulk, who decides to stick with the mission, calling Steve a traitor. Once again, another reality where it's Cap versus Hulk and Hulk just destroys Cap. Number 7. Union Soldier Stephen Rogers. What if Captain America fought in the American Civil War? Well, you can bet this is the version of the hero that we would get. Stephen Rogers vs. 717 is the character who first appeared in the What If Captain America issue number 1 out of 2005. Here we explore just that version of Steve, who served in the American Civil War as a Union soldier. In the end, he turns against his villainous Colonel Bucky Barnes, who in this reality becomes the supervillain White Skull. In so doing, Stephen becomes injured and is taken in and saved by the Eagle Chief, Wee Piak. Not only does the Eagle Chief save his life, but he also grants him extra strength, transforming him into the hero Captain America, who is armed with a mystical shield, peak human physique, and reflexes, and is rumored to be protected against all harm. This version of Captain America fights hard throughout the years to make sure the United States is a place of opportunity for all who call it their home. He truly represents the Captain America ideal of equality. Number 6. Ultimate Captain America. In the Ultimate Universe of Earth 1610, Captain America is considered to be even more powerful than his 616 counterpart. The super soldier serum here didn't just prolong his life and leave him in peak human condition across the board, increasing his strength, speed, and durability, but it also gave him an accelerated healing factor and put him at a superhuman level when it came to his strength and his speed. It was once claimed that Steve Rogers of this reality could bench press a car. Across the board, this version could be considered stronger than the 616 version, although I would argue that 616 Captain America does have better leadership skills than our 1610 version. But that's just me. Number 5. Danielle Cage. Danielle Cage is the future daughter of Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. This could be who the future little 616 Danielle Cage ends up as, or maybe not. Only time will tell if Danielle ends up having a similar future to this alternate version of herself and Captain America, or not. In this reality of Earth 15061, Danielle Cage grows up to become the hero Captain America, possessing the abilities of both her father and her mother, meaning she is both super strong and super durable and can fly, all that good stuff you've come to know and love from both Luke and Jessica's heroic power sets. As Captain America in the future, she also has inherited and wields the Captain America shield. Number 4. MCU Captain America. I mean, of course MCU Captain America has to make our cut. The Marvel Cinematic version of the character is not only extremely popular, but is also deemed worthy enough to lift Thor's hammer, giving us that awesome fight scene in Avengers Endgame where Thor and Captain America are switching back and forth, alternating between sharing and wielding Mjolnir and Stormbreaker. This ultimately gives Cap a big power boost, being able to wield Thor's weapons, especially considering that Thor is one of the most powerful members of the Avengers team, in part because of his powerful, magical, and also kinda cosmic weapons. Number 3. Carol Danvers. That's right, Carol at one point managed to become Captain America. This has actually happened in more than one reality, but for this list we're going to focus on the version of Carol Cap that comes from the Venomverse. She appears as Captain America in Venomverse War Stories and hails from the same reality as Venom Rocket, Earth 18197. In the story she appears in, Captain America Carol Danvers and Venom Rocket battle it out as Rocket is looking to cash in on a bounty for the Kree who want Carol Danvers. Venom Rocket and Captain America seem pretty evenly matched here, but in the end, Rocket does not manage to capture Carol, and Carol seemingly ends up the victor of that match, though undoubtedly left with a pretty big mess to clean up as a result of their destructive battle. Carol Danvers as Captain America still seemingly possesses some version of her Kree physiology and her 616 power set here, making her a pretty powerful alternate version of Captain America. Number 2. Super Soldier. Super Soldier hails from the Amalgam Universe. Stories and characters created using the combined lore of DC Comics' main roster of superheroes and villains and Marvel Comics' main roster of superheroes and villains. Super Soldier himself is an alternate version created by combining the heroes Captain America from Marvel and Superman from DC. Clark Kent ended up in the Super Soldier program during World War II, which used alien DNA taken from a corpse that was discovered to alter Clark Kent permanently, granting him superhuman powers. He is the combined power set of both Cap and Supes, making him pretty crazy powerful, although he also comes with his own highly dangerous villain as well, the Green Skull, and his own weakness to the ore known as Green K. So keep in mind, he does have that weakness. Number 1. Soldier Supreme. Soldier Supreme is what you get when you combine the mystical powerhouse of Doctor Strange with the all-American war hero Captain America. The result is a character who happens to be tough, strong, fast, and a gifted fighter, while also possessing tons of mystical knowledge and abilities. Soldier Supreme hails from Warp World, the reality created by Gamora when she folded the universe in half using the power of the Infinity Stones. Here, Steve Rogers participated in the Super Soldier program, which was really a front for something less scientific and more magical in nature. Conducting a series of rituals, Dr. Morgan Erskine transformed Steven Rogers into the Soldier Supreme.
Kicking off the list at number 10, Deadpool Kid. Wade in the Wild West. Sign me up. Wade Wilson of Earth 1108 made his first appearance in Deadpool Merc with a Mouth issue 7. Now when we meet him, he's wanted for bank robbery, arson, software piracy, and of course stampeding pygmy goats through an orphanage, you know, everyday things that we always do. And then even in the dusty days, Deadpool still finds a way to cause trouble. He would constantly boast about him wanting to take over the town, and he had his sights set on Sheriff Fury and bounty hunter Logan. After getting shot in the head by Earth 616 Deadpool, our main Deadpool, the Kid went down. But he didn't stay down, of course. He survived and was next seen alongside Dreadpool in the hunt for evil Deadpools in the universe. Number 9. KIDPOOL. Similar name but much different. KIDPOOL comes from Earth 10330. Now he made his first appearance in Prelude to Deadpool Core issue 2, and he started his days out as a student of the Xavier Orphanage for Troubled Boys. Now due to his abrasive personality, he of course didn't fit in with the other super kids, so he was lonely most of the time. Now one day he was sent to detention with Scott Summers, and Wade convinced Scott that they should both break out and go to prom instead. I agree, I mean detention during prom, come on, that's just cruel. But in order to convince Scotty Boy to be a rebel, Wade promised him he'd help Scott get with Jean Grey. That ought to do the trick. While at prom, KIDPOOL caused trouble and even fought Logan. It was a hot mess. Mistress Storm stopped the fight and KIDPOOL was on his way out when Deadpool arrived and also recruited this KIDPOOL. And before we continue with this list, if you want to go ahead and give us a thumbs up, that would be great. It helps our channel out quite a bit. You guys are the best. Thanks for your support. Now let's get right back to this video. Number 8, Dreadpool. In the reality of Earth 12101, the X-Men brought Wade to Dr. Ben Brighton, aka Psycho Man, in an attempt to cure Wade. Now they wanted him to shut down all these voices in Wade's head, but he didn't do that. He actually did the opposite. Wade was now encouraged to kill everybody in the Marvel Universe. And he started out by going after the Fantastic Four. Reed and the Thing were toast in just a couple of pages. Sue Storm held Dreadpool off by making his head explode, but once he healed, she was next to go. Dreadpool stole a device from Reed Richards that he used to take down the Watcher. So right off the bat, things get ugly. Number 7, Evil Deadpool. Keeping those sinister vibes going, Evil Deadpool is from our 616 main universe. He actually came to life during the pages of Deadpool Volume 4, issue 44. Now it actually all started with Ella Whitby. She was a psychiatrist who was obsessed with Wade Wilson. She was so obsessed that she would keep body parts that he lost over time. She would collect parts of him and then keep them in her freezer, you know, right next to the ice packs, of course. So when Deadpool found out about this creepy old cold collection, he threw them all in the dumpster. He just got rid of them. But that was a mistake because once those body parts thawed out, they fused together to make another evil Deadpool. Just the smell of that freezer alone, I would have tapped out by day 3. Number 6, Wolverine Pool. This next one is a total badass, one of my favorites if you ask me. Brief, but definitely memorable. First appearing in Cable in Deadpool issue 46, we see Wade Wilson after he's undergone the Weapon X program. He has a skeleton bonded with adamantium, and then he's recruited by Dreadpool to take on the evil Deadpool core members. So he joined the battle and killed Deadpool Pulp, but during the fight, main Wade tossed a grenade full of bugs at Wolverine Pool. So the grenade went off and the bugs chewed at Wade's skin, just chewed him apart until nothing was left over except the adamantium skeleton and claws. Definitely the grossest way to go out, that's for sure. Number 5, DEATHMASK. While I mentioned a botched surgery earlier with Wade, this next one went exactly as planned. On Earth 11683, Reed Richards was able to remove a lethal brain tumor from Wade's head, so now he was better off than ever. No evil voices, and now he was actually a genius. But did he change the world one revolutionary invention at a time? Nope, he was a master criminal. But still, he's smart, I don't know. He built an empire. Wade went by the name DEATHMASK and killed that world's Victor Von Doom, and his outfit was actually a red version of Doom's. It was pretty sweet, I'm not gonna lie. Even after DEATHMASK was beaten by our main Deadpool, it didn't end there. DEATHMASK made a deal with Mephisto in order to release monsters on Earth, one of those monsters being Infernal Hulk. Ouch. Number 4, Dogpool. Wade Wilson of Earth 103173, aka Dogpool, made his first appearance in Prelude to Deadpool Corps issue 3. Now Wilson was a dog being used as a test subject for Mascara X, this hot new product that could replenish itself after just one use. How beautiful and lovely and convenient, might I add. Now this version obviously is inspired from real life animal testing and abuse that happens, so it's pretty sweet when Wilson gets superpowers. Now they thought the dog didn't make it after a test, his body turned all corpse-like, so they got rid of it. But those regenerative abilities brought this pet back to life. A circus truck just ended up going by and seeing this immortal dog, and then Deadpool became the starring act of their show. Come and see the death-defying hound, what a headline. He was working there until Deadpool came and also recruited him for the Deadpool Corps. Number 3, Deadman Wade. Coming from the Age of Apocalypse storyline on Earth 295, Deadman Wade was initially part of Apocalypse's Pale Riders. Danny Moonstar would just torture him non-stop. That was his whole thing. But that's gotta be a bit distracting, right? While the Riders were seeking out Avalon, Damask was so annoyed by the torture and the sounds that she strangled Moonstar to death. She just couldn't take it anymore. It's like when my sister would sing Taylor Swift, I'm like, a 4-hour drive, come on. So Deadman Wade wasn't too happy at this point, but when they finally arrived to Avalon, Wade's attack on innocent people was so much that Nightcrawler deemed it necessary to end his life. And he did so by teleporting away whilst grabbing his head. If you want to see Deadman Wade in more agony, begin so with Excalibur issue 1. Number 2, Ultimate Deadpool. Wade E. Wilson from the Ultimate Comic Run, Earth 1610 that is, made his first appearance at Ultimate Spider-Man issue 91. Now he had a pretty rough time when it comes to the Ultimates. The Ultimates are a different story, different origins, but Wade's is still bad. See, in Ultimate Spider-Man, Wade E. Wilson gets recruited to hunt down mutants on live television, which sounds like a pretty cool gig, but the government figured this is what the people want, and honestly, they're not too far off. People love tuning in. This is like the hot show. It's the talk of the town. And his appearance is even more shocking once Spider-Man unmasks him, and the fact that he does so on live television causes Wadey to go nuts. And it was even worse than that because Spider-Man made him feel horrible for how he looked. He said his face smelled like a KFC dumpster on a hot day. What a roast. Oh my god, Spider-Man, relax. And also in Ultimate Spider-Man issue 92, Spider-Man is about to be unmasked himself, but Deadpool prevents it from happening. He says to respect the mask. How ironic. Number 1, Lady Deadpool. We just met Lady Loki and she kind of stole the entire show on Disney+, so we gotta end this list with Lady Deadpool. Wanda Wilson from Earth 3010 made her first appearance in Deadpool Merc the Mouth issue 7. Now this version of Deadpool cared, dare I say. She wanted to at least feel like she belonged and was part of a bigger, more important movement. So she led an assault force against the crooked General America, which was an evil Captain America in that world, and then she eventually found her place leading the Deadpool Corps, that team I've been mentioning throughout this entire list. In fact, Lady Deadpool was the one to tip off our main 616 Wade on the whole operation. Wade actually tossed Headpool at General America, but then he bit his arm off. Headpool was from the zombie universe, so Wade had to take the General's infected arm with him after he left Wanda's Earth. All the blood, all the arms, all the Deadpools, all the fun.